One of the more common rookie mistakes one can make when judging a piece of entertainment media is to declare it or its themes to be mature or adult, a term that for all intents and purposes has zero actual meaning and used more as a common denominator for everything that has nudity, open scenes of sex, foul language, or controversial viewpoints. My problem with that is that in most cases this doesn't mean jack, because adults and children have a lot more in common than most people think they do. For example, Invader Zim features a lot of rude language, disturbing images, and humor that at best only young adults can understand fully. But does it mean that children won't watch it? No, because Zim is a funny character. Children are entertained by his actions and world building, and what they don't understand or find boring they just filter out. Angry Beavers features a lot of humor that nowadays is considered to be adult, with at least one character being a walking parody on truck drivers, and a lot of references are to stuff that even adults in their 50s will have trouble understanding. Does it mean that children won't watch it? Of course not. Norbert and Daggett's adventures differ every episode, have good voice actors, and most importantly, they're entertaining. The list, as you've probably guessed, goes on, but the point I want to make is very simple. Just because the show features something only adults or teens can understand, doesn't mean that children will automatically discard it and go watch Teletubbies. And at the same time, it must never be considered as a defense point for a show that is either just poorly made and has nothing besides their adult themes, or is a clear nostalgia bait or a propaganda piece targeted at a specific audience. And this is where we start talking about Onihei. Onihei is an anime adaptation of the Onihei Hankacho, a series of Japanese historical novels written by this dude that actually have a big following in Japan itself, but was practically never heard outside of it. It features a number of stories about a samurai policeman named Hasegawa Heizo, quite brutal but forgiving and merciful man in charge of the specialized department of theft, armed robbery, and arson. Most of the stories follow either him on the case or him reminiscent of the cases he was in, usually against organized bands of thieves that kill and maim people in the process of stealing. If it sounds somewhat familiar to you, then ding ding ding, my friends, only now it's in times of Tokugawa. And that's about it, really. The plot is effectively just a bunch of stories that for the most part never have anything in common with each other, save for our main hero and a number of recurring characters, some of which are so similar to each other that sometimes I couldn't even say who is who anymore, and that is not a good sign for a visual media. And if I was an amateur, I would now start to lengthily describe everything that this fucker ever done, saying some cliche shit like, "This moment is where the character grew on me," or "I wasn't expecting how deep this show was, so adult and serious," or "Oh, the tension, go watch it immediately." But unfortunately, my first and foremost task is to be as transparent in my judgment as possible. Yes, I liked the show. No, I can't recommend it to a wider audience. The biggest problem Onihei has as an anime is that from the start it was a niche product designed to cater to a specific audience, namely Japanese, fans of crime fiction like CSI, and people like me who like historical shit. I have a strong suspicion that outside of some illegal anime sites, this thing was never aired in the West, and for a good reason. The majority of anime fandom nowadays are people in their teens, 14, 25 years old, who vaguely remember history of their own countries, let alone foreign ones. Most of them generally don't watch serious shit if they can avoid it, and not that I can't understand why. I lived a very long life, and throughout the entirety of it, it is the young ones that have gotten the worst end of whatever current century has to offer. They are the frontier of and to all sorts of shit you can possibly imagine, and from a perspective of a person who just wants to be entertained, Onihei is simply boring and unremarkable. The graphics are plain, the 3D they used is slightly better than that of Berserk, and the music, while pleasant, is one of those generic noir soundtracks that you'll remember how they started, but never the entirety of the song. Even the action in Onihei is, while not generic in the anime meaning of the term, generic in the sword fight meaning of 1/1 kill. As a film, Onihei would probably get a bigger audience and recognition. As an anime, it is simply bland and forgettable compared to its competition, and the only people I can recommend it have either already watched it or don't watch anime out of sheer principle. So in other words, just like Let's Players.